National Assembly Speaker Newzroom has now appointed Advocate Phala to replace UCT Professor Richard Calland on a panel that will look into whether there's grounds to begin impeachment proceedings against President Cyril Ramaphosa. This comes after Calland withdrew from the three-member team, which is going to look into whether there is sufficient evidence to argue that the president should face an impeachment inquiry for his alleged involvement in an alleged cover-up of a farm robbery. This is basically at his game farm in Limpopo back in 2020. Both the DA and EFF raised objections over Calland's impartiality or lack thereof due to his work as a political commentator. Mapisa says she's now considered all submissions and legal opinion and found it's best that Calland not take part in the work of this panel. Both the ANC and the Good Party have rejected a call to establish an ad hoc committee to look into the alleged involvement of state agencies in this cover-up of the Phala Phala farm saga, or alleged cover-up. At this point, the DA tabled that motion, which was debated in a mini plenary session today. The party wants a comprehensive investigation by Parliament into the alleged theft of foreign currency. Some have put that number to the tune of $4 million from the Phala Phala farm in 2020. President Cyril Ramaphosa has so far denied any wrongdoing. Athi Mtongana reports from Parliament.
So the Democratic Alliance in a mini plenary session this afternoon, of course, brought that motion to debate the establishment of an ad hoc committee that would look into all matters related to the Phala Phala farm theft money at President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm in Limpopo. I'm joined by the leader of the party. Thank you so much, John. I know what your stance is, or at least South Africans know what your stance is insofar as this issue around Phala Phala. But I'm interested to hear what your response is to the Good Party, for example, and the ANC that have rejected this motion, saying that it's frivolous and it's being used by political parties as a political tool.
Well, I'm not surprised by Good. I mean, obviously, they're the toadies of the ANC and they rely on the ANC for their cabinet post enjoyed by their leader. But clearly what we are witnessing is the ANC not learning from past mistakes. And the history of the recent 9 wasted years, as the President spoke about. The ANC stance today to prevent an ad hoc committee taking place flies in complete contravention of comments made, including by the President, that there was no reason why Parliament and law enforcement agencies could simultaneously look at matters. That was the President's testimony at the Zondo Commission, which they now seem to be walking away from. I think it's very clearly an attempt to shield the President from accountability and very, very much same ground that we're back in again when we called for ad hoc committees on state capture, which were denied.
This is not the first time you've actually raised this issue of Parliament establishing this ad hoc committee. There's also outcomes from the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, which found no evidence against the Deputy State Security Minister. With all the attempts that you're trying as the opposition party in Parliament, do you think that there would be a likelihood of ever getting that accountability that you're demanding from the President?
Well, first of all, I'll just say about the Joint Standing Committee's absolution of Minister Kodwa, the technicalities of that are absurd. They simply asked him, do you agree with this? And he said no, and they closed the case. There was no investigation, no interrogation of witnesses, no interrogation of expert evidence. So it was a farce to exonerate him, and we've seen another farce here today. We've got to continue to do what we need to do to make sure that Parliament does its job. Not for political points, but because this is what Parliament is charged with doing. It's what Judge Zondo said a functioning, effective Parliament should be doing, which is holding the executive accountable and not relying on law enforcement agencies and Chapter 9 institutions to be doing the work of Parliament. This is something we should be engaged in. The President must come and answer to this House. But it goes beyond the President, which is the point of the ad hoc committee. It also refers to other organs of state as well as government departments that should account as well.
Lastly, as I let you go, have you spoken to other opposition parties in terms of going forward with the vote tomorrow?
Well, there's been a discussion of the opposition parties for a number of weeks now around the Phala Phala matter. I think there's a unanimous concurrence that we want to see accountability and transparency, and that this is going to be absolutely essential to ensure that Parliament discharges its responsibility. We believe all the opposition parties, apart from, of course, Good, who rely on the ANC for their position, to participate in the vote and vote in favour of this. And I think that would send the ANC isolated again, as they were on state capture, and having not learnt any of the lessons of the Zondo Commission and of previous experience.